Hello and welcome back to another video today here again on Gran Turismo 7. For the first kind of car review on here, I know I did the comparison of the 3 starter cars the other day, which you might want to go and check out if you haven't already, but taking a look at one of the newly added cars for this Gran Turismo over the previous one. Bit of a surprise this edition, we didn't really find out until the game's launch. The Mercedes AMG GT Black Series, so the brand new 2020, well, a couple of years old now, 2020 model of AMG GT. It has a V8 bi-turbo producing 720 horsepower. The game reckons it's 719 though, which takes it onto a top speed of 202 miles per hour. It weighs 1,615 kilos, which brings the performance points here on Gran Turismo to a total of 663.11. Obviously we have the decimal places here, which we don't in Forza, for example. In reality, this costs £327,000, which I hadn't realised though, which I think is, well, too much, as the base model is only 138,000, so a bit surprised by that. But in-game it costs you 420,000 credits, which again is probably more than it should be based on what other cars of this performance appear to be. I've gone for the only, well, suitable manufacturer colour that they offer on this, which is of course the Magma Beam, but we will be changing that when we get to GT Auto to look at the modifications a bit later on. But before we do that, I'm going to take it for a quick test drive. I'm going to be using Deep Forest for this. It's the first sort of original Gran Turismo circuit I've unlocked on here, the sort of classic old original one, so I'm going to take it for a quick test drive around there, and then we're going to use that as a place for our 5-lap test of the car, basically, to see what time I can get, a bit like I do with the festival over on Forza. So we'll see what time it can do around there, and then I will go and modify it and see what we can do with an even faster variant of it. But first of all, let's go and see what it drives like from standard. So you join me here at Deep Forest in the AMG GT Black Series. Is a mad thing, as you might expect. It is the, how many Black Series have we had now? So there was the CLK, I think was the first one. Then we had the C63, SLS. So I think I'm right in saying this is the 4th. But yeah, super track focused, as you might have guessed from the wing and splitter. So it will be interesting to see what it can do and whether it can hit that 202 mile an hour top speed. Maybe not, this straight isn't quite long enough. I should also point out, as a benchmark car, I took a GT3 RS around here, a 992 generation, which is a little bit down on performance points, but same sort of idea. It's your track-focused supercar, well, not quite supercar, but super track-focused thing, one of the sort of top picks by anybody who does track day type things, which is kind of what the market this is aimed at, I guess. But higher performance and more expensive, so that's what I've set as a benchmark time as well for this. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it compares. But yeah, this actually drives really nicely. The Porsche, you could really feel the weight out over the back. This seems to have a lot more, I'd say, as I understeer, but it's put my brand new £300,000 car into a wall. But there's no kind of, unless you really, there's no oversteer on the corner exit, well there is, but only if you really floor it is what I'm finding. It seems a lot more planted than the Porsche did. And you might remember, if, well, on stream I drove an older GT3, and that was the same. It just wasn't planted at all, coming out of the corners as you got on the power. Which I thought was just the game trying to be super realistic, but this, even if I completely plant the throttle like that, it just goes. No traction, obviously. I have put ABS on weak because I was locking up, because I'm used to the kind of lock-up point on Forza, which is what I've been playing far too much of, really. So it's quite refreshing to have, well, a new game. This is incredibly wide, actually, compared to the Porsche. I'm just noticing about the interior. Very racing car, lots of carbon fibre. You've got the yellow thing down there, little traction control thing. Toggle. Oh, I like the dashboard lighting up red when you lose traction. Oh, this is so nice to throw about, actually. Oh. And almost impossible to crash, I was going to say, but... Right? Not if you really push it. You can manage to get it to spin out or whatever if you really, really go for it. Right, anyway, that's probably enough messing about with it, and, well, crashing. Should we go and see what it can actually do if I try and set a fast lap? So, as when I take a first look at new cars on Forza, I'm going to give it 5 laps around here, and, well, take my best time, scraping the wall there. You can probably see on the front of the car that I did get a bit of damage. I was kind of... It almost gave me too much confidence to start with this car, so I ended up pushing it too much and making a lot of mistakes. You can see even on my fastest lap here, I went very wide into the first corner. But yeah, previous to this, I did quickly take a GT3 RS round, which initially had more oversteer, but it meant I was kind of more careful on the power. So I think I actually drove that slightly better in the end. That only has 491 horsepower, so substantially less than this, weighs a couple of 100 kilos less, and only comes in at 633.12 performance points. So this really should beat it. A bit of a wobble through the tunnel there, even on my best run. So it was, yeah, by no means a perfect lap, but neither was the Porsche really. Slight bit of oversteer through there, but making the most of the track. But yeah, as well as that, the Porsche is only 253,000 credits in game, and is also much cheaper in reality. And its first, well, the first benchmark time we've got to beat here is a 139.165, although like I said, I felt like I drove that better. I did actually take that round for one more lap, because it was the first car I'd driven around here. So yeah, it had a little bit more time, but as it was the first car I took round, that did in itself give it a disadvantage. Nice and neat round there on that lap, but I was struggling to get it to turn in on that corner. I was ending up doing that about 30, which is a bit ridiculous. And yeah, I was struggling on this final corner to go flat, which I could in the Porsche because, well, I was going that much faster. You have to lift slightly in this. And across the line we go. So yeah, this, interestingly, sets a fairly similar time. So yes, rather handily, Gran Turismo has... well, it's built-in leaderboards for these time trial things, so I'm not going to have to make a spreadsheet and edit in rolling times like I do on Forza, which is, well, nice and easy. But, as you can see, with the Mercedes also did a 139.1, 145, so tiny bit faster, and like I said, I felt like I didn't drive that quite as well, so it's definitely faster, but is it enough faster for the price it costs? Probably not. I prefer it slightly, but yeah, I don't think it's necessarily worth it over something like a Porsche. Yes, it's high performance points, but it's only just faster. So yeah, it is faster, but not by enough to be worth the price point, I don't think. Anyway, let's go and see if we can modify it, paint it a nice colour. I have a colour in mind. You probably already know what I'm thinking for this. But yeah, we'll throw in some mods and get it to a sensibly round performance point number that we can then compare to with future cars, and see what parts we can put on in GT Auto. So, you join me again at GT Auto. I have quickly upgraded it, as you can see from the performance points there, to, well, as close as I could get it to 700. Seemed like a reasonably sensible round number to build it to. So anything of this kind of performance that we get in future, or that I test in future, I will try and build to a similar number. But we're here at GT Auto for some visual mods. I have already checked there's no wide bodies available for this car, which is slightly unsurprising. We can do wheels and custom parts though. I personally quite like the AMG wheels. But we'll have a quick look at what some others look like in a minute. We'll do some custom parts and race mods first though. We can put on... Now that's interesting. I think that's the extendable splitter that you've got with the car, that you can get with the car. But when that's on, you're supposed to have little rods that hold it in place, I thought. Anyway, we'll put it on. Even if it is 15,000 for a part that should come with the car. That is Well, I quite like the wing that's on this, but that's quite interesting, actually, seeing the Black Series without a wing. I don't think it actually matters, although I've just noticed that it does. Putting the front splitter on has taken my performance points to 701, so I am going to have to take something off again, I think. And that'll probably take it up even more. And it's never, no matter what I do... Actually, no, because you can put in a... You can put on a bigger one, and then you can put on ridiculous end plates, can't you, like that? Which I probably wouldn't do. I actually like the one we've got, so I'm going to leave that alone. But yeah, that's interesting. I am going to have to... The visual... But this does actually make a difference, so I'm going to have to readjust quickly afterwards. We can also put on bonnet pins, which look rather cool. Entirely pointless, but rather cool. And that looks horrible in this. So we'll leave that alone. I need to go and buy a nice paint. You probably know what I'm going to be looking for here. Before we do that, I'll quickly show you some... What do we want to go... What do we want to look at? I always end up just looking at BBS. Compatible wheels. Yeah. See, it has quite nice wheels. Some of these look okay, but I really like the wheels on it, so we'll leave that alone. But I want to find... I hope it's in here, because I did try to look for a nice Porsche colour before. Well, Miami blue, basically, and it's not in here. So hopefully the colour I'm looking for here is, not the roof magenta that's here. There's some very pink pinks at the top. Don't know what order they do it in and why it's pinks at the top. But anyway, we want to filter by Mercedes. I hope they have this. They do. Although, having said that, I'm not sure it's the nicest yellow. I mean, there are some really nice blues and things in here. There's too many whites and greys. There's Magma Beam. There's Green Hell Magno, but you can put that on from factory, so I don't really want to do that. Some nice reds. They don't have the nicer blues, it seems. There isn't a really nice Mercedes blue on here. But yeah, what I was going to go for was Solar Beam, but I think that's actually a nicer colour. Sunburst Orange. The thing is, that's an AMG colour. I'm going to buy the Sunburst, it's just nicer. Because I ended up going for the name of the Mazda paint, because it was from 787B, rather than it looking good. So I then have to, rather irritatingly, after you've bought it, you have to do this. But given how many options there are in the paint system, which I think is just brilliant, I'm not too worried about that. Right, body, special colours, and then we have Sunburst Yellow. Wow, it's very yellow. And the boot, it's done the whole thing. That always looks really good. It's done the whole car, so we are going to have to fix that, I think. Ooh, that's interesting. No. Body 2. Oh no, that was that bit. Okay. I think other must be... Because those really I want in carbon. Which is something I'm going to have to buy at some point. Actually, you know what? Can we do this? If I just close and don't save that. I know, I realise I'm getting very distracted by the mods and stuff. This is just such a cool part of the game that I'm, well, loving. So let's see if we can get... Are they like carbon? There we go. Ooh, forged carbon is horrible. Which one do we want? I feel like the matte is slightly nicer. It's worth just buying that, because that's going to be useful on so many things. This is going to look so cool. What? What's the point of that then? Carbon can only be used when painting the entire car the same colour. Okay, so if we go... Can I do it the other way? No. That is rubbish. So what I'm just gonna have to do it in. Just gonna have to do it in black. I might have to paint. I might have to buy a matte black at some point so we can pretend things are carbon. But that's the stupidest thing ever, that carbon is a paint you can buy, but you can't. And we'll do the mirrors as well. Yeah, that looks good. Right, now to go and adjust the PI. I'm going to keep calling it PI because Forza. I'm just going to ignore it and go with it, I think. But anyway, yeah, let's go and we'll go back to the tuning shop so we can bring it back down to 700 and then see what it can do with another 7 laps around the circuit. So, as with the stock vehicles, the Mercedes got given another, well, I kind of lie, not quite 5 laps. I gave it a couple more because I was struggling to get a decent lap that was completely clean in. So I did end up giving it 7 laps. I kind of felt like, as it's the first, well, one of the first cars I've taken round, I'm still kind of learning the game physics, still kind of learning the track a bit. I did give it the benefit of the doubt and gave it a couple more laps because it was struggling to set, well, a lap I was happy with, basically, in terms of time and, well, how I'd driven. It was a bit of a handful. I did kind of feel like I had to be even more careful. It does now have nearly 900 horsepower, and I didn't upgrade the rear aero. So I think maybe next time I upgrade a car, I will put the wing on, even if I prefer the look of the standard one. I didn't realise the sort of visual mods made that much difference in this game. But yeah, I think they might, so we might have to play about with that. It does only have sport tyres on. I didn't go full race, but I'm not sure you would at this performance point. I need to kind of figure out again. It was the first car I built. I did it quite quickly, so we'll kind of learn as we go. So hopefully as I build things, they will get faster. It's just kind of a bit of fun to see how it does. But yeah, 900 horsepower, as you would imagine, is, well, quite a lot. It has 700 stock, so it doesn't really need more. But if you're going to try and build it for something, obviously you do end up doing that. But yeah, remember it was kind of 139 ones were the times this and the Porsche did stock. As we get to the final section, I still hate that slow speed corner there. Rounding the final corner onto the straight, it does a 136.5, which is the first time on our modified board. So yeah, overall I still like this car. I was kind of just pleased that it had been added, being such a new vehicle, and surprised to see it in, because obviously they didn't tell us about this until the game was released, and I think it was leaked just before it came out. But yeah, I still like the car, but in stock form it really isn't worth it in comparison to something like a Porsche on here that's, well, in game, I don't know about in reality, but on here you're definitely better off going with a Porsche or something, just because this is so much more expensive and not really that much faster. I think it would be faster than I took it round. I think it should be faster than the Porsche in the right hands, I think. Not exactly the same like it was with me. So I think it is faster, but even if I did a clean lap in it, it wouldn't have been much faster. So I just don't think it's worth the price point over that. Modified, it's hard to tell because this is the first car I've kind of modified on here. I did it quite quickly, didn't do any fine tuning, and we've got nothing else to really compare it to. I don't know what a good lap around that track is, so we can't really look at that too much. But yeah, there was some cool options for it. The little front splitter, although I don't know why it's 15,000 for that. That seemed a lot. The wing I didn't do because visually it didn't look as good, but I think maybe in future I will go for that. So yeah, it's not been too bad, but I don't think it didn't quite live up to what I hoped it would be, and it is quite expensive, so yeah, don't rush out to buy this car when you get Gran Turismo. It's not excellent. It's not bad. I think I still need to get used to how the game drives and how to upgrade stuff, and then hopefully we'll build some better cars in the future. But yeah, for a first look at the AMG GT Black Series, that probably is going to do it. A really cool car, but not quite as good as you might hope or expect for the price point. So I will be back very soon to look at another brand new car on here. I think the next one we're going to look at is the Ferrari F8 Tributo, so I will be putting a video together similar to this on that car very soon. But for now, taking a first look at this car, that is going to be all. So hopefully you enjoyed the first kind of review style car video here on GT7. If you did, I did a similar style one on the 3-starter cars, so you might want to go and check that one out. But do let me know, because there's plenty more of these that I can do going forwards, starting with the Ferrari soonest probably. But yeah, that's going to be all for this video, so thank you very much for watching, and I will be back with the next video very soon.